Golden Eagles. You're listening to Southern Miss Today on Southern Miss Radio. I'm Sam Romeo, your Monday and Wednesday host. We've got a jam-packed show coming up with some information on Cuzo's controlled soil eruption during the 30s and 40s, and Nurseria Poulter talks about McNair's scholarship program. And don't go anywhere because Riley Herrin will be here later with something you don't want to miss.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mississippi Beverages. Mississippi Beverages provides water, water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mississippi Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mississippi Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Southern Miss Today. Let's kick things off with some on-campus news. A new scholarship is making waves at Southern Miss. Alum Jennifer Payne, class of 2004, has established a leadership endowment to support the Joe Paul Leadership Scholarship Program. The fund is designed to give students not only financial assistance, but also encouragement to step into leadership roles on campus and beyond. For many, that means extra opportunities to grow their skills and make a bigger impact while at Southern Miss. Southern Miss is gearing up for its 7th annual Rayborn Lecture, and this year's speaker is a big name in the world of physical chemistry. The event brings some of the brightest scientific methods to campus, giving students and faculty a chance to learn from leaders who are shaping research in their fields. The Rayborn Lecture is a part of an ongoing tradition at USM designated to spark new ideas and showcase the impact of science on everyday life. Students and community members alike are invited to attend and be a part of this conversation. Hattiesburg is welcoming some very special guests this fall. The family of Curious George creators H.A. and Margaret Ray. They'll be visiting the D. Grammons Children Literature section at Southern Miss, which houses one of the largest collections of children literacy in the country. The Rays' classic Little Monkey has been sparking imagination for generations, and their family's visit highlights how much impact children's stories continue to have. It's another chance for Southern Miss to shine as a hub for preserving and celebrating literature that shapes young readers. In Hattiesburg news, the Lamar County Road Department is working to make local roads safer by clearing trees and bushes along the curve. The goal is to improve visibility for drivers and reduce the risk of accidents, especially in the areas where sight is limited. Residents of the Park West apartments are coming to terms with a new reality after a fire broke out early Saturday morning. Flames tore through Building C around 2 a.m., leaving several people displaced and causing heavy damage. Hattiesburg has taken a big step in protecting vulnerable infants by installing its very first Safe Haven baby box. The box allows parents in crisis to safely and anonymously surrender a newborn in accordance with the Mississippi Safe Haven law. The box is equipped with climate control and security features, and once a baby is placed inside, first responders are immediately alerted to provide care. City leaders say the installation is about saving lives and offering compassion to families facing difficult circumstances. In Mississippi news, campus officials and local authorities are investigating after a deceased individual was found on the Delta State University campus. Details about the person's identity and the circumstances of the death have not been released yet. Mississippi lawmakers may soon be asked to consider bringing back a storm damage mitigation initiative aimed to help Residents protect their homes from severe weather. The program, in which has been used in the past, provides funding and resources to prepare or reinforce homes before storms hit. Across South Mississippi, special bonds are forming between young and old for a Adopted Grandparent Day. This event brings students and families and volunteers together to spend time with seniors, sharing stories, laughter, and compassion. In national news, a survey shows that Americans are feeling more pessimistic about the economy. Rising prices and ongoing uncertainty have left many households worry about their financial outlook. West Nile virus has been detected in sentimental chickens in 2 local zip codes. Health officials argue residents to use repellent, and eliminate standing water to help preserve mosquito bites. All right, here's your pop culture scoop. Selena Gomez turns heads at the Emmys in a red Louis Vuitton gown. After the show, fiancé Benny Blanco surprised her at home with a romantic candlelit setup. The couple, engaged since December, is preparing to tie the knot after this month. And the MTV VMAs are still making headlines. Sabrina Carpenter's emotional performance and Busta Rhymes' tribute are topping the highlight reels. And that's your pop culture scoop. And before we wrap things up, here's a little inspiration to take with you today. Death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside of us while we live. Norman Cousins. That was our news update for today. You're tuned into Southern Miss Radio, and we'll be back in just a minute with sports and weather. But first, a quick word from our sponsor.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mr. Sippy Beverages. Mr. Sippy Beverages provides water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mr. Sippy Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mr. Sippy Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online. Sponsorship comes from Furniture Direct, with locations in Hattiesburg, Laurel, and Columbia. Are you looking for a deal? Lots of styles and a good value? You can find them on Facebook at Furniture Direct Hattiesburg for the latest specials and promotions. Or you can shop anytime at FurnitureDirectNow.com. You can see why Furniture Direct is your furniture destination.
All right, Golden Eagles, here's your Southern Miss sports scoop. Football. The Golden Eagles opened Sun Belt with a 38-22 victory over Appalachian State on Saturday. Southern Miss is now 2-1 on the season and leads the Sun Belt West Division. Volleyball. The Golden Eagles faced a tough matchup against Mississippi State. Southern Miss fell to Mississippi State 3-1. Golf. Southern Miss men's team is tied for second at the JT Poston Innovational after round 1. To keep up with all the Golden Eagles sports activities, head over to southernmiss.com. Golden Eagles, if you're headed out, here's the weather you need to know. Today's looking mostly sunny with highs near 89 and lows around 64. Light winds and bright skies. Sun's out, skies are clear. Ideal day to step outside and yes, maybe even touch some grass. Up next, we have kazoo-controlled soil eruption during the 30s and 40s. Check it out.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mr. Sippy Beverages. Mr. Sippy Beverages provides water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mr. Sippy Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mr. Sippy Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online. Sponsorship comes from American Graphics. Located at 8 Commercial Warehouse Drive in Hattiesburg, American Graphics provides custom screen printing and embroidery. They can be reached by phone at 601-602-2277, and the website is goamericangraphics.com. American Graphics, printing at its finest.
Let's welcome Riley Herrin to the show. Hey, Riley, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Sam?
Living the dream. Can you tell us what Kids Hub is and what your mission is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kids Hub is a child advocacy center here in the Pine Belt area. We service 7 counties across the state here and do some courtesy services for other counties in our state. We work with children and families who have allegations of abuse and neglect specifically. And throughout that process, we have kind of built our program to also include some mental health services. And so we've actually been in operation for about 10 years, which sounds like a lot, but in the reality of organizations and nonprofits specifically, that's actually a really young agency. And so during that time, like I said, we've been providing services to those children and families with those types of allegations through victim advocacy services, forensic interviewing, a multidisciplinary team approach. And what we found during that time over the past 10 years is that what we were really missing was some expanded mental health services. And so Hattiesburg and our other surrounding communities have a lot of community resources for mental health services, but sadly we have a lot of people who need mental health services. And so what we found is that there is oftentimes a delay in getting services. And I think, you can add into that what you will as far as like stigmas around mental health services and access to mental health services. And so we kind of operated on this theory of if we see a gap, one, we need to fill it. And two, if we were already having children and families show up at our Child Advocacy Center for other services, if we could also kind of mainstream that access to mental health services within our building, would they be more likely to attend versus having to go to an outside agency and repeat some of the information that they'd already shared with us? And so while we absolutely still use our community partners and community mental health on our multidisciplinary teams, and we love our community mental health, we said we wanted to just be a small piece of that access to mental health. And so over the past 3 years, we have worked on building our mental health program, and we started out with one clinician, and now we are up to 3 full-time clinicians, 2 part-time clinicians, and just kind of adding everything we can into that mental health program to better serve children and families, but also other people. So we've kind of expanded our mission actually to include working with anyone who's experienced trauma and not limiting trauma to just abuse and neglect, but trauma can be so many things. And I think even in your news portion of the show and just like the world events that we're experiencing, like trauma can mean so many different things. And so just opening that up to children and families, but also individuals. So adults, college students, you name it. We have a wide variety of clients under that mental health portion of our program.
That is awesome. What types of services do you offer to children and families?
So Kids Hub, like I said, because we're a child advocacy center, we do offer the forensic interview portion, and that would be in direct response to allegations of maltreatment or abuse. And that is done with a multidisciplinary team approach, which would include local law enforcement, child protection services, the district attorney's office, youth court, mental health, medical providers. And then outside of our direct services for children experiencing those allegations, we would also offer the mental health services. But our mental health services are not, like I said earlier, not just limited to the children and families coming in our building for those types of allegations. Sometimes we see children and other individuals who maybe, their parents have gone through a divorce, maybe they're grieving, maybe they've experienced a natural disaster that was traumatic for them. I mean, you have, just kind of the run of the gamut there. So that's kind of the core services that we offer. And then we also have like our development, our community outreach and education portion. So a variety of things.
What sets Kids Hub apart from the other advocacy centers in Mississippi?
I like to think that all of our child advocacy centers really we're all on one page. Like we all want to do the same thing, and that is serve children and families and individuals to the best of our ability and to promote, just that healing and opportunity to either one, if they're coming in for those allegations of abuse and neglect, to kind of promote that process of the criminal justice process and support them through that. Because it's a really long road and it's a difficult process. But then as far as the mental health piece, helping them work towards that resiliency and healing, because that looks, so different for every client that comes in the door. And so not necessarily sets us apart. I think we're actually a pretty unified group in the sense that we all really love people and just want to serve people. I think some things that sets us apart in the sense of like services we provide. Not all of our child advocacy centers across the state provide mental health services. There are some that do and there's some that don't. And that has a lot to do with grants and funding because we all are nonprofits. And so that can look different for each of us. But I think united in that we all have some of the core beliefs and services of just wanting to serve children and families.
What inspired you to work with children advocacy?
Yeah, I think people who go into child advocacy, specifically, I think we all have experiences, whether it's our personal experiences or experiences with people that we love, that kind of push us into that direction. And so we see a need and we fill a need kind of deal. And so I'm no different than all of those. I think we all have just experiences that push us in that direction. And I've been very fortunate that my experiences have shown me, just a lot of God's goodness and grace throughout it all, and just the opportunity to share that with those around me. And I don't speak for everybody who goes into the child advocacy center world, but, it's often that when we work with other individuals in this area, they express similar sentiments in that they have somebody that they know or love, or they have a personal experience. And I think it just makes us uniquely qualified to, again, support those around us.
What are some of the biggest challenges you face in your role?
Yeah, so at my Child Advocacy Center, I'm the director of programs. And so we joke all the time at our agency that I kind of wear a lot of hats. And so I have been with Kids Hub since really the early stages. So I've been there for 8 years out of 10 years that they've been open. And during that time, I have been an interviewer, I have been an advocate, I have been a facilitator, I have been a mental health clinician, I have done community outreach, literally anything other than finance I have been a part of, even some grant writing every now and then. And so because I've had the opportunity to kind of put my hands in a little bit of everything, what I'll tell you is the biggest challenge is, again, just continuing to work with everyone around us so that we stay on the same page, and that is supporting children and families. And we're so fortunate in our area that we have such a great team of professionals within the CAC, but also within the multidisciplinary team, that they also are equally passionate about those children and families. And so that's been really nice to work with, because we all know that we want the same thing, which is their best interest. And we all come from different perspectives to get it. And so that collaboration has been so nice.
How can the community get involved in supporting your mission? Get more involved in supporting your mission?
Yeah. Again, I can't praise our communities enough. Like, they have been so good to Kids Hub in the sense of financial donations. Of course, we're a nonprofit, so I'm always going to mention finances. But I mean, they have been so gracious to us and has afforded us the ability to open up our facility into a newer, bigger building so that we can better serve children and families and more timely. But again, continuing to support us financially will never hurt, because, again, we're still in the process of building a bigger mental health program so that we can serve more children, more individuals, more families. Outside of financial support, just word of mouth is always super beneficial to us. I mean, again, our world has a lot going on. And so I know so many people know people that are experiencing trauma or have experienced trauma and maybe having difficult time dealing with it, because it impacts us all so differently. So sharing our name, our information with them, we're happy to get in touch with them about services. We are pretty active on our social media, so sharing anything on social media that we share is always helpful and beneficial. And then, of course, coming on campus is always helpful to us. We accept interns and volunteers from all of our universities. And, again, just being able to kind of talk about what we do and who we are around our communities is helpful. We do have a really great community outreach program, and they do a really great job of going and meeting with other schools, companies, businesses, you name it, they're out there. So I think those are really the top ways.
How do you take care of your emotional well-being in this line of work?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question, and I honestly get asked that question a lot, whether I'm talking to classes or working with other organizations. And I think it's so different for each individual in this field. And I have the luxury of having a social work background, and so and doing mental health, so I can kind of practice what I preach with clients. Not that I always do, but I should. But yeah, I think one being aware enough, like self-aware enough to say, like, this is hard work. It's not easy to listen to kids talk about the really bad things that happen to them, or it's not really easy to talk to individuals and listen about their trauma and their experiences. And so making sure that I have my own personal safeguards up has been beneficial for me so that I don't take that home with me. And so being able to, empathize with my clients and sympathize with them, whether that's through interviewing and advocacy or that's through, mental health services, and then being able to step away and recognize that what's going on with my client is not what's happening with me in this moment. And I can separate those two pieces. And then, just being prepared to put any coping skills or grounding techniques into place. Obviously, I've mentioned God already once, and God's very important to me. And so being mindful of like who I can, pray to, and, what devotions I can get into, what biblical pieces I can get into is helpful for me. But again, everybody else deals with that differently. And so I think whatever coping skills works best for you is what you go with.
Why is children's mental health just as important as physical health?
Yeah, I think not just children's mental health, but mental health for all individuals is so important. But when we specify children, I think we do that very intentionally, because if we can get mental health kind of figured out kind of in their brains from an early age, we see just so much more success into that adulthood piece. Because mental health, trauma specifically without mental health services, has such a big impact on children. So on how they learn, it can impact how they build relationships, it can impact how they deal with stress and future stress. And let's be honest, stress doesn't go away as we get older. A lot of times it just continues to pile on. And so being intentional with reaching out to our children and teaching them those skills to deal with the really hard things that life's going to throw at us, and giving them the skills and the ability to deal with those in healthy ways is only going to benefit them as adults. And, I'm a firm believer if we can help children reach happy, healthy, successful adulthood, that has a greater impact on our community and our world as a whole.
Why do you think children's mental health is still misunderstood or overlooked?
I think mental health in general is kind of misunderstood and overlooked, not just for children, but for adults too. And that is because there's just so much stigma that I think that sits around it, that mental health means something's wrong with you or something's bad, and that's not necessarily the case. I think we can all really use some mental health from time to time. And I think there's some pushback there, right? Like, you have children who are experiencing big events. And I think caregivers, as a caregiver myself, like we worry, like, if we put our kid in mental health, what does that say about our kid? And what will that teach our kid? And does that mean I've failed as a parent? And I think there's a lot that goes into that as well, some fears. And I think it's all stigma related. When in reality, mental health is so beneficial for children, and it's so beneficial for adults to have somebody to talk to about the big things going on in our brains, the big emotions that we're feeling, the thoughts that we're having, and the impact that has on our physical body. People just don't realize that our mental health does in fact impact the physical being as well. And so we can stand to see some improvement all around if we can get kids and families into those services.
Lastly, what are the most common mental health challenges children face today?
Yeah, I think it's hard to pinpoint a most common because there's so much. I think we absolutely are dealing with mental health concerns around anxiety, depression. I think, you hear a lot about that in the media, and not just like social media, but in the media of like movies, TV shows, music that's, our kids are accessing. And so I definitely think anxiety, depression is a big one. Suicidal thoughts and ideations. I know that's a scary one for people, and as it should be, but that's a big one that we're working with. One of the things that we as an agency have pinpointed that most people don't think about as a mental health concern that we're actually working on building in our mental health program is children dealing with problematic sexualized behaviors. And so I think there's a wide variety of things sitting here, and they all have such serious impacts on our kids' lives.
I absolutely agree with what you're saying. Thank you so much, Riley Herrin, for joining us today and sharing your voice with our Eagles. We really appreciate it. Coming up, we've got a news wrap from Nesharakia Herrin talks about the McNair Scholars Program.
For Southern Miss Student Media, I'm Nishranika. Do you like research? Do you want to pursue a PhD? Are you a first-generation college student? If this sounds like you may be eligible to apply for McNair Scholars Program. The McNair Scholars Program is a federal trio program funded at 151 institutions across the United States and Puerto Rico by the U.S. Department of Education. The program was designed to help first-generation college students from low-income backgrounds interested in pursuing a PhD. The goal of the program is to increase the number of graduate degrees for students from underrepresented communities. Getting into the program comes with a $2,800 stipend, free CRE prep, graduate school application fee waivers, and much more. Dr. Zari Minette, the director of McNair Scholars Program at Southern Miss, explains the eligibility criteria for the program.
So there are certain eligibility criteria that students have to meet. First, they have to be either a first-generation student and income eligible, or they can be from a group that has limited representation in graduate school. They have to have at least 60 credit hours at the end of the spring semester in the year that they apply. They also have to be a U.S. citizen or be working towards citizenship, and they need to be working on their first bachelor's degree.
Lila Pittman, a McNair Scholar recipient, shares her experience with the program.
It's my first time researching, so it's more of it's a lot of things that's new to me, like a lot that's new, but it's something about researching something that you're really passionate about that I love. Yes, it was kind of difficult because I had my own trials and tribulations, but I loved it.
Anybody who is eligible for the program is encouraged to apply. The application remains open until October 26th. For Southern Miss Student Media, I'm Nishranika.
Thanks for listening to Southern Miss Today on Southern Miss Radio. Big thanks to Seb, our audio engineer, Carl, our assistant producer, and Meadow, our video producer, for keeping this bird flying. A special thank you to our program director, Adeline Fields, and our general manager, Dr. Martin. We appreciate everything you do. I'm Sam Romeo, signing off. Don't just get through the day, make it count, keep shining, and don't forget to be someone. Y'all have a great day.